it's Andre, and it is time for another Flying Friday update. And I'd give anything to have the weather we had last week. This week was atrocious. Back to wind chill figures at lunch, hats and mitts and cold, and I think there was a little bit of snow today. So April, the end of April is looking a little lame. So last week we flew several times, and even better if you were following my social media feeds, the EFX racer made a triumphant return to flying. That new motor, the 2700, 2836, 2700 kV motor, did a good job. A little down on my flight times, but on the 6x5 or 6x4 prop, it flew. My dad threw it for me. I am going to try another hand launch, fingers crossed, with a couple tips about keeping the right wing down on launch and just go. It was really nice to have this airplane back in the air. I'm waiting to try my A specs on it, but I want to fly it a couple more times on my normal 30C batteries, get another 2 or 3 flights under my belt, and then I'm going to step up to the better power and eventually work myself to 4S. Hobby King finally got the spinners back in stock, so I took advantage of that. Ordered that. I also ordered the EDF motor, so the EDF plane will be back in the air. Going to change things up a little bit and maybe redesign the whole profile, but I'm going to go for 3S instead of 4S because 4S was too much on the motor. We burnt it out, or I burnt it out, yeah. My dad has offered to try and rewind it, and we'll see what happens with that, but for now I've ordered a whole new motor. I may go to 2 motors and 2 SCs, but for now we're going to try 3S, maybe a lighter airframe, we'll see. The other thing I did last week, my buddy James was telling me he was having issues with his orange radio, and every time he would buy and do something, he'd lose all the other ones. And you didn't realize, if you hit the switch, you can jump between the 2 modes, between the DSM2 and DSMX, right? You get the 2 per band. And what I started doing on my radio now, because I'm sitting there trying to load this airplane, which is on channel 2 and stuff like this, is I started actually putting the numbers into the radio on the display. You'd think the module would be smart enough to know, but whatever, we're dealing with it. So now I've got EFX Racer 2, so that tells me I have to go in when I start this thing up, depending on where I am, to cycle through mode 2, and the modes correspond to the flashing lights. Anyhow, it works, and now I know, because things like the Sukhoi is 4, which is like SMX with the higher the capacity, the higher millisecond rates. So anyhow, so that's my little small tip. It works. Now I can flick through them, and I know what they are. The other craft that is finally starting to please me and might fly this weekend if I have everything going is the S500 airframe with the APM. So as you can see, the APM is up there. It is now on a dampening board, which I got in from, that was a Hobby King order as well. Earlier in the week, I was experiencing a lot of issues where the compass, I went to do the whole, where you cut the trace and everything, and that just wouldn't work. I was getting bad compass health and all kinds of craziness. So I went in to the spot and I hit it with some solder to see if I could rejoin the original compass, and that wasn't working. So I stripped everything down and just started working with the board, and eventually I decided to clean the whole thing out. So I used my soldering iron and my soldering vacuum, and I sucked everything out, and apparently that did the trick and cleaned everything up and sealed it. And I took my own meter to it, and the two trace ends are not seeing each other at all. So the internal compass is off, and then all of a sudden I saw a magnetic field, and the internal compass, or the external compass on the unit, was working. So when I track my heading and all this, it's all working. So we're getting there. It's slowly coming along, and like I said, once I go in and do a little bit more programming, a little bit more reading, it should be able to go into a loiter hover and everything. So it does talk to the radio, and I am able to, fire up the motors and everything and fly it manually. So I have to get in there and program all the switches and everything. So we're slowly making progress on all this stuff. It has been a very long week for the family. Everybody's been down with the weather and the flu, and so there's nights where literally I had maybe half an hour of sanity time to work on this stuff. So that was really starting to frustrate me. So last night when it all came to, it was a big hallelujah moment. What else have I been working on? Well, I discovered with the Turnigy radios, the 9Xs with ER9X, and using a buddy box, I've got some simple 6-channel radios that James flies on. I can actually control the 6-channel, and they link up with the 9X. So all of a sudden, earlier in the week, or last weekend or whatever, I was fiddling around and was actually able to control all the controls on the FT Racer, which means any one of my planes, any one of the binding radios, I in theory can control now. So James can go through and fly anything from the big Radiant, which we might do, all the way to, it looks like, Cubby. The 48-inch Cub is going to get reactivated and it's going to go flying. The only change I got to make to this thing is I need to improve the rudder. The rudder was very weak on this airplane, so it had a lot of directional problems in the wind. So all I'm going to do is kick it out and make it a little taller, just add some foam to it, and that should improve stability of the rudder dramatically. So looking forward to getting this airplane back together. It's been through a lot. I mean, it's been popped in half a few times by myself and my dad, but it's still a good plane. So we're going to take one of the motor sets off the downed the winter quad after that thing fell through the sky last weekend, and we're going to get that one going. And then the only other airplane I got to work on is the Fun Cub. It must be a CG issue. It keeps flying really awkward on me, so I busted a prop there last weekend just trying to get it. Same day I was trying to get this thing to launch, and it just turned funny. Kept turning to the right and stuff like this. So I'm trying to work through the motor. I'm going to try and add some weight to the front of it and just get it to fly nice again, because I know this thing flew. You've seen the videos where I'm just going by. The camera's nice and easy and slow and everything, so something's up. So I'm going to work on that. I do have some 11-inch props versus the 12x6 props that I've been flying with, just to see what can be, if they act any different. And other than that, thank you. A huge, amazing thank you. Last week we cracked 200 plus YouTube subscribers, which is pretty awesome. I'm looking forward to the summer. I'm looking forward to meeting a lot of you at Flight Fest. I've got a lot of nice positive comments. People asking to, they want to see me and have a good chance to fly. So really looking for July. Having a great time doing this. Yeah, I'm gonna miss my vintage racing because that's something I've had to give up after the crash. But I'm having fun flying. So just a big heartfelt thank you. Have a great weekend. We're going to be out Saturday and Sunday. Hopefully I'll have James up flying with me. So have an awesome time. Cheers.